Welcome back. I'm your host, Cheryl Tan, with financial advisor Patrick Moriarty on Prep for Retirement Television. Moving on to our second LEAF approach, which is having a written plan. I thought this was so interesting. Fidelity has done some studies showing that only 25% of Americans have a written plan.
That's right.
Oh my goodness. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's the biggest reason, I think, is most Americans are procrastinators. I mean, think about it. When we were kids, we procrastinated making our bed, doing our homework, doing our chores. And as adults, we procrastinate as well. Think about when we go Christmas shopping, right? We do it on Christmas Eve. So we always put everything off to the last minute. So I think procrastination is one of the biggest reasons. But there are a lot of fears as well. There's the fear of the unknown, the fear of what the results might be. There's fear that it's too difficult. Takes too much time. And I think one of the other biggest fears is it's too expensive. And it really isn't. So there are a lot of reasons, but it's never too late. And I think people need to really think about the importance of having a written plan.
I know that in your office, you sit down with people to have that meeting to create that plan.
Correct.
Which, as you're talking about the enormity of this, no wonder why they're waiting. But can you talk to us about what that meeting looks like, especially for someone who has not put a plan in place up until that point?
Yeah, I also, when we have that first meeting, I talk about the planning that we do in our lives that is unrelated to retirement. So we plan for our vacations, right? We spend a lot of time doing that. We wouldn't go on a road trip without a GPS or without a real map, right? Why? Especially a place that we haven't been before. And it's the same with retirement. Why would you go into retirement without a written plan? So I stress the importance of having it. And, the conversation starts with, what does your retirement look like? What do you envision your retirement to look like? Are you going to have a second home? Are you going to travel? Are you going to visit your grandchildren? Are you going to play golf? What does it look like? What are your dreams? What are your expectations? And then we start focusing in on the inputs, right? The first input is, when do you want to retire, right? If I could show you on paper today that you could retire tomorrow, would you go in and tell your boss, hey, I quit, And a lot of people will, a lot of people won't. So first, when do you want to retire? So that's the first input. The second input is, how long are you going to live? And that's the big variable, right? We don't know our longevity. We don't know how long we're going to live. And if you have a husband and wife, if there's, married couple, now you have to plan how long two people are going to live. And I like to say in my workshops, I have a lot of fun with this. I like to ask the people I work with, think about it. If the big guy upstairs could just text us the date we're going to retire or pass away, it would make the planning process really easy. So once we figure that out, when are we going to retire? When are we going to pass away? Then we start really plugging in the data. Data like, what are our sources of income in retirement? What does Social Security look like? Do we have a pension? Then we start factoring in our assets. How much have we saved? How much do we have in our IRAs, 401ks, thrift savings plan, our bank accounts, annuities? Then we start looking at inflation, because we have to factor in inflation. We factor in rates of return, and we factor in our budget. How much do we want to spend? And so all of these variables get plugged in. The program produces a really nice plan, a roadmap of what retirement looks like. And it usually is very eye-opening. And, the client and the viewer now is more comfortable approaching retirement.
It's interesting that you're giving the map, right?
Exactly.
The plan to follow. But sometimes people don't enjoy following maps once they're given to them. So can you talk about follow-ups?
Sure.
What happens once you give that plan to somebody or somebody has a plan to follow?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I like to say that that plan is really just a moment in time. It's like a photograph, right? Because a lot can change going forward. The account value, your assets can go up, right? We could have a huge market rally, so now your assets are worth more, and that'll give your plan, better results. But conversely, stock market can crash, stock markets can drop, your account values can drop. That'll negatively impact your plan. Inflation could go up, taxes could go up. You could inherit money. All of these different things can change your plan. So whenever I give a plan to a client, I actually write a good till date on there, like an expiration date. This is only good for a year, because within a year, we need to sit down, review it, and see if there's any changes.
So do you have people who come to you right before that good until date and they maybe haven't done anything?
Well, they don't have to really do anything, right? We want to see what's affected them financially, right? Have their account values gone up? Have they gone down? Have they had a big expense in the past 12 months? Has anything happened with taxes? What does inflation look like? Maybe we factored in too low of a rate of inflation on their plan. I mean, look what inflation's doing now. There's always changes. Maybe they've contributed money to the plan. So there's always updates, and we want to make sure that within a year or so, we're reviewing that plan and updating any changes to it.
It's important to have someone who can help you become accountable for what you say you're going to do.
Correct.
If people have questions, if maybe they want that initial plan or any of those follow-ups, first of all, what does that look like, and how can they get information about that?
Well, it's real easy. I mean, if somebody has an interest in sitting down and meeting with me and having this plan discussion, because of the show, we're opening up the phone lines, and people can call our local number, 410-599-3300. We've got people there answering phone calls, and the first 10 can take an appointment, reserve an appointment for an hour. We sit down, no cost, no obligation, and we can talk about their plan for retirement.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to know who to talk to.
Right.
And this is an opportunity just to get your questions.
Exactly.
Sounds good. We'll be right back.